What do you guys think is keeping people from either producing content like what I'm trying to do or what we're trying to do? And what are they watching? And is that having an impact on their sobriety and their spirituality? The main topic that I want to talk about today, and this is something that's been brewing in me for a little while. It's actually kind of one of the catalysts to start doing this podcast and to really reach out through social media. And fundamentally, the topic we're going to talk about is kind of why I felt like I was being led into the recovery social media space, because it is absolutely undervalued right now, and it is under occupied, if there's no better way to say it. So the question, it's not really a question, I just want to bring up the topic. Here's what we're talking about. What are the effects of social media content consumption on one's sobriety or spirituality? And to go really further in that, what I'm really talking about is because when you go to YouTube, and I'm subscribed to all this stuff that's not recovery related, right? I really wish there was a lot of entertainment driven value or news available, for me to be connected to, because I feel like what we're connected to is what drives our thoughts, and what drives our thoughts is what drives our behaviors. And that, no one's really going to argue that. So what I want to know is everybody's thoughts on a couple of things. What do you guys think is keeping people from either producing content like what I'm trying to do or what we're trying to do? And what are they watching? And is that having an impact on their sobriety and their spirituality? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I would say, I don't know why there isn't. Maybe it just hasn't, been drummed up. We're like the guinea pigs in the in the thing. But what I do want to talk about on this subject is what you're spending your time doing. Mm-hmm. Is going to reflect.
Totally.
So if you're watching negative stuff, then you're probably going to be having some negative behaviors.
Yeah.
I know, anytime I share, I want to speak for myself. I'm not talking about anybody else but me. Mm-hmm. There were some peers early in recovery, I just noticed, like on Facebook, stuff that they're putting out there, which means that that's the stuff they're watching. And they're posting and reposting and doing this and that. And there's been some that I have blocked because I don't want to see that content.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely.
So it was negative for me. And I didn't want to be going in that direction. So I blocked them.
Good. Yeah, good for you, man.
And for myself, I spend a lot of time watching a lot of positive stuff on identity, who I am in Christ.
Yeah.
Just positive things.
So what about, so I'm hoping that people that maybe aren't of the same religious concepts that I am, let's say somebody's watching this, they're not a Christian, but they've made it this far, and I don't want to drive anybody away. So what would we say, are there things that are keeping people back that maybe don't subscribe to Christianity, that maybe they can make some alterations? Maybe they don't buy into Christianity yet. They don't understand that part. Is there anything, Zach, I'll turn it over to you. What would you say to somebody who says, I'm an atheist. Mm-hmm. I enjoy recovery, and I know that there's a lot of spirituality around it. I'm just not there yet, but I'm not tuning out. What would you tell them to help connect them a little bit more to that concept of not basically feeding your brain a bunch of garbage?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that comes to my head is the saying we say to everyone, it doesn't matter what type of background you have, but connection is the opposite of addiction.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, what you're connected to, this may sound churchy, but it's everywhere. What you're connected to is what you worship. And so just like what Chris is saying, you kind of end up becoming what you feed yourself on.
Yeah.
And so, but I was also wanting to tackle a part of that question you had, which was, why don't we see recovery in media? Like, why don't we see it? Why isn't it pushed? Because,
or even in the mainstream, if you wanted to say it like that.
Or in the mainstream, because what we've seen is just our culture and kind of almost inherently baked into the fundamentals of recovery as we know it is the idea of we don't talk about it. So that's AA, anonymous. This is a single group, which the reason why they did that was actually a really awesome reason because it created a safe place.
Agree with that.
I'm 100% on board with that. But what
Absolutely.
we've also found is that if you just don't ever talk about your recovery and no one else knows that you're in recovery besides the people you're in recovery with, then there's no testimony there. There's no actual, what I would say, fruitful transformation because then you're just a mystery. No one knows you. And just back to that same thing, connection's opposite of addiction. So me changing my life, part of my fruit, that's why I call it fruit. Part of when I change my life, I want others to know that not just know that my life's changed, but I want them to know that it's possible if they have anything they want to have changed in their life. It's totally doable because guess what? Somehow my life changed.
Well, and in a way, don't you think that by the groups kind of self-isolating? Now, I agree with you. I think we should have a safe place to die or a safe place to confess things. But do you think that if that's like where my recovery exists, that I'm self-fulfilling the prophecy that there's those and them. Yep. I'm almost creating that them, those space.
Exactly.
So for me to be a little bit more open about it actually brings in the idea of we as opposed to them and they.
Yeah, exactly. And all that media has said, pretty much all that we hear out there is recovery is associated with what you see on the news, homeless people.
Yeah.
Homeless people is associated with recovery.
Those people.
Which is those people. Homeless people to everyone else out there are those people. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And so that's what we find the vein in. So that's why you don't see local news networks cover it. That's why you don't see anyone cover it. But also that's also combined with the fact that people that are in recovery, people that are diehard in recovery and trying to get clean and sober, they're usually not going to other people that aren't in recovery and saying, guess what I'm doing. Usually you don't find people like that doing that unless they're so far out of recovery and been clean and sober for so long. For example, you've been doing this for 10 years and we're here now.
Absolutely.
But this is where we're finding the inherent issue actually in recovery. You don't see a step. Well, in a way you do. With CR, I know you do, where it says love and service. But love and service, they more end to try to tie that into serving back to celebrate recovery itself. But there should be another aspect of love and service, as in dude, get your testimony out there besides CR.
Yes.
Go to other places, talk to people that don't know about addictions, don't know about your life, and tell them, dude, this is where I was, and now I'm this way.
Totally.
And that's where we see transformation. That's where you start to see that stone being turned. Where you start seeing this publicized more because people go, oh my gosh, that's where people get their lives changed. That's how they did it. It wasn't through Jenny Craig. It was through connection. Because honestly, that's all that recovery really is, and that's how people are able to stay clean and sober is because they're connected.
Was that a 1990s plug for Jenny Craig?
Shameless.
My goodness,
Absolutely shameless.
You guys remember the 90s?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How old were you in the 90s, Zach?
I was born in 96, so I don't remember the 90s.
You don't remember the beginning, yeah.
Holy dude, I graduated high school in 93.
Oh man, 1993, I believe. Alice in Chains, it was one of my favorite bands, and one of their first albums came out back then.
Like Alice in Wonderland?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know Alice in Chains.
So, well, cool. That's a good topic and subject. And I think, we probably are just at the tip of the iceberg on even talking about this. So I'm sure we'll address that in the future. But for those of you listening in, I just feel like this is a space that we have an opportunity for, especially because COVID has been here. We believe in this fundamental concept that's what the enemy means for evil, that God is going to turn over to good, and COVID is not a good thing. However, there are so many great things coming out of the opportunity that this has caused that we do have to be mindful, though, because I think that a lot of people are running to a more digital world than before, which is good and bad. So we have to be able to steward this right, I think. And so it's just the opportunity for social media and for recovery to take more of a front stage. And here's the reason why I think there's a lot of people struggling right now. My sister told me that in her AA fellowship, she has never seen so many people with 10, 12, 15 years relapsing. And it's like a kind of a community pandemic, if you will, within the recovery community. Now, that's not to say everybody that has all this time is relapsing. It's just that she even noticed in saying, hey, I'm concerned because there's people that are like my spiritual leaders and they're just falling like crazy. Yeah. So we will go more on there. We're going to end this segment and we're going to go to a break. So guys, stick around. We'll see you back on the other side. Thank you for checking out this clip from the Position Recovery Podcast. The entire podcast is available on our other channel. There's a link in the description box below, so you can go check it out. The full audio program is available on your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify, Pandora, and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Finally, if you'd like access to exclusive members-only content, or maybe you just want to support us in what we're doing financially, head on over to patreon.com/position, where there are a variety of giving levels and one that is perfect for your budget. It's always awesome hanging out with you guys. And remember, many are called, but you are positioned.